New Frontier Minerals Limited is an Australian-based exploration company dual-listed on the ASX and LSE with a focus on critical minerals like heavy rare earths, niobium and uranium. Now, the company has recently finalised high-priority drill targets for its maiden drilling campaign at the Harts Range Project in the Northern Territory. To discuss this development and what it means for New Frontier's future, I'm delighted to be joined by Kevin Das, the Senior Technical Consultant. So Kevin, at the Harts Range Project, the company's identified Cusp, Bobs, Paddington, Westminster and newly identified Old Trafford and Bank Prospect as high priority targets for the campaign. So what do these prospects have in common that make them prime candidates for the drill programme?
Yeah, look, thanks for having me. Great question. As you've seen, we've started the Harts Range project with a couple of prospects there, primarily being Cusp and Bobs, and these were historic prospects that were found in the probably about 15, 20 years ago, and had been identified back in the day. New Frontier since then has acquired the assets and conducted further work, and as a result delineated or identified numerous more other prospects in the region. And to answer your second question in terms of what do they have in common, really the commonality there is the critical minerals, in particular your heavy rare earths, your niobium, and also from an energy point of view, you've got high-grade uranium as well. So across those prospects there, they're the primary targets that the company has been focusing on and has been lining up for drilling.
So based on the fieldwork and the high-grade assay results from Harts Range, what are your expectations for the drilling campaign in terms of grade, scale or economic potential?
Yeah, look, the fieldwork to date over the last 6 months has really shown some really good results, and what we're seeing at surface, in particular at the Cusp, Bobs, Paddington, Westminster, and Old Trafford prospects are some really high grade heavy rare earths, niobium, and uranium, and we're actually seeing them at surface within these mineralized pegmatites, which is very exciting. Now, in terms of the economic potential and the size, depth, we're really going to know the true nature of this once we drill, and the drilling will allow us to see what kind of depth, scale, width, and the economics around some of these minerals. So that's going to be very exciting as we drill this. We can kind of go from the surface down and have a good look at what's kind of driving these prospects.
Now, in terms of scale, can you tell me about the scale of this drilling campaign, including the number of holes or meters planned?
Yeah, look, we're just planning that at the moment, and in terms of the number of holes, that could vary, but we're looking to drill 2,000 to 3,000 meters, and that'll be our inaugural first phase drilling campaign, and that's really going to test these targets really from surface to depth to see what we've really got, and then from there we can use that information to really base our phase 2 program to drill out things further at depth or at lateral extent.
Now, I'm just thinking about potential obstacles. Are there any regulatory approvals required to start drilling, or do you envisage or see any challenges to the company timelines?
Yeah, look, we've been on a pretty good timeline over the last 6 months. We've achieved a lot from the acquisition of the asset through all the due diligence and airborne geophysical surveys and on-site field work. From here for drilling, it's really a process of getting your statutory approvals in place, your government approvals, which really your environmental, any kind of risk assessments, native title site survey. So they're all boxes that you've got to tick, whether you're a major or a junior company, and usually that process should take a few months to get in place, and the company has now commenced that process now that we've lined up some of these targets for drilling.
Now, in terms of acquisitions, you're expanding the footprint of the Harts Range and have recently applied for an additional tenement, EL34147. How does this tenement complement existing holdings, and is there a strategy to continue to expand?
Yeah, look, that's a good question. That tenement sits to the south of our existing tenements, and it's a part of the geological package there. And as we know that there's mineralized prospects all through the tenement package that we've got, it just makes sense for us to pick up any of that ground to the south, east, west, and nearby us, and that again increases our land footprint there, but also shows our commitment to the area, and just the fact that we want to give the company as best chance of making a discovery, and I suppose the more ground you've got, the better chance you have of that.
Now, I know the company recently received a $59,000 grant from the Northern Territory government. Can you tell me how this grant will support exploration efforts at Harts Range and what it signals about the region's support for critical minerals development?
Yeah, look, the government offers incentive schemes to explorers, and this is part of a broader incentive package that they have. And this $59,000 will go directly towards drilling at our Harts Range project, and that just helps with carrying some of the costs there for drilling, in particular the Harts Range prospects that we've mentioned there.
A big macro question for you, with global demand for heavy rare earths, niobium and uranium surging due to clean energy and defence applications. How do you see the company positioning itself to capitalise on these market trends, particularly in light of China's recent export restrictions?
Yeah, really good question. The rare earths that we have here at Harts Range are very high value and probably very scarce rare earths. In fact, the two rare earths for the magnets, the dysprosium and terbium, the only place you really can source them is China, and there's just not a lot of economic quantities of these, two dysprosium and terbium rare earths available globally. You probably could count on one hand any significant sources around the world, and from an economic point of view, your dysprosium's selling for around $240 a kilogram, your terbium's over $800 a kilogram. So from an economics and basket point of view, it's very attractive because those kind of numbers, you don't need a lot of that to make economic sense, and as you said, these rare earths are highly critical for your permanent magnets, your wind turbines, and now you're seeing Department of Defence with your defence critical applications, and I think going forward you're going to see a real demand from AI robotics as well, and because every kind of engine, every kind of mechanism is going to need these magnets. So I think there's a real future for them, and I think that's one of the main reasons we're there at Harts Range.
It's not just Harts Range you've got, though. My final question to you is, the company's got an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with Austral Resources to explore processing options for the Big One copper deposit. How does this partnership fit into your broader strategy?
Yeah, look, the Big One deposit is in our Northwest Queensland project. That's our second project. That's actually a more advanced project than our Harts Range, and we've got a resource there, 2.1 million tonnes at 1.1% copper. Big land package. It's in the Mount Isa district. Now, Mount Isa was a world-class mine and copper district there, and we've got a very large land package, over just under 1,000 square kilometres there, highly underexplored, 20 regional targets in addition to the resource we've got there. And in January this year, we signed an MOU with Austral Resources to really toll treat, or to look at synergies and how we can supply their Mount Kelly processing facility with ore from our Big One resource there. So they've got a facility there. It's an oxide plant that's It's a replacement cost, I think it's about $100 million plus. And we're looking at how we can utilise the ore, the high grade ore that we've got at the big one, and to potentially look at putting that through their plant. So there's a lot of mining and exploration synergies there. And essentially what it means for us, if we can get something up and running, it means that we don't have to fork out $100 million to go build our own processing facility, but we can really piggyback off Austral there. So really win-win scenario, and a really good outcome.
A really good common sense approach. There's lots going on, and I really appreciate your time. So Kevin Das, Senior Technical Consultant at New Frontier Minerals, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sarah.